So I have a client who really struggles with social anxiety. And one thing that she experiences is that whenever she's in conversations with people, she's not really very present because what's going on is she's listening to all sorts of, there are just like loads and loads of thoughts and insecurities that are popping up in her head. Like, do I sound okay? Am I coming across smart enough? Do they like me? How do I look? They don't think I'm interesting enough, all sorts of thoughts that would show up in this person's mind. And so as a result, in interactions with people, when there were more than kind of two people in a conversation, she would get really insecure and all of that would start going on in her mind. And she wouldn't actually be able to pay attention to what was being said because she was so consumed with all of this that was going on. And we talked about kind of how true is it? Those thoughts, those insecurities that are popping up, are they true? Are they real? Do you have evidence of that? And she shared that there was a time recently where she went over to a neighbour's house for dinner. And when she left, she said to her husband, oh, they definitely are not going to invite us again. They don't want to be friends with me. Like, it was really, like, I don't think that they're going to want to see me again. Lo and behold, they invited her again to dinner. So she recognized that, okay, so these thoughts that I'm having, they're not always true. Sometimes they're wrong. And still, though, it's debilitating for her. It's overwhelming to always be thinking these things, and not to be able to be in a conversation and be really present with someone. And she can see that she's putting distance, innocently, she's putting distance between herself and other people, and that's preventing her from being able to create these relationships and these blossoming friendships. One thing that I want to, if you relate to any of this, if this feels true for you, I suppose I have a challenge for you, just something to start to notice in your life. And that is, start to question the validity of the thoughts that you've got. Start to question whether you really need to pay attention to those thoughts. Are those thoughts really real, or do they just seem real to you right now? It's really easy to get caught up in that. Everything that I think is a fact, right? It's logical. It's come from my brain. I've got all of this evidence to show why that's probably the case, that this person doesn't like me. They looked at me funny, or they're only really making eye contact with the other person and not me. And all these stories that we make up inside of our minds. And my suggestion, my invitation for you is to pay less attention to that, knowing that you can't really verify its truth unless you ask someone. You're not really going to be able to verify whether it's true or not. What if it were to just exist in your mind without it needing to be thought about? So having a thought, they don't like me, is one thing, but then thinking about that thought is what takes us away. When we think about the thought, they don't like me, therefore, or because of, or I'm not good enough, we're moving away from that conversation. We're moving away from the person. We're getting caught up in something that's not helpful. So my invitation is, allow the thought to be there. It's okay that the thought's there. There's nothing wrong with the thought being there. The trouble happens when we go down the rabbit hole, when we buy into it, when we believe in it, buy into it, create significance and meaning around it, and therefore start thinking about it. We kind of go into this negative spiral. That bit is optional. So it's almost like, you might go to work with your backpack and your lunchbox and your notepad. Throw the insecurity in there too. Throw that thought, they don't like me, in there too. That's okay, right? There's nothing wrong with having that thought. The question is, am I going to do something with it? And my invitation is, don't do anything with it. Come back to the conversation. Come back to the moment. See what happens. You might have another thought pop up 4 or 5 seconds later. I don't have anything to say, right? That might be a thought that comes up. Okay, put that in the backpack. What else? And just come back to the present moment. Come back to listening. If you're really listening, if you're really paying attention in an interested way to what someone's saying, usually things occur to you about that, and you might say that. Just experiment with it. Just see what happens. What does it do for you to not try and get rid of the insecurity, not try and do anything with it, not try and go into it and kind of grab it and create stories around it, just to know that it's there? And it doesn't need to matter that it's there, and that you can come back to this moment right now, because that's really where conversations happen. That's where social interactions happen, in this moment. Good luck. Happy experimenting. All the best.